Thank God it's out. Will you put
An analyst and a therapist. The world's first and algorithm.
Even in just a week and a half that I've been using this.
One thing that we are aware of is that you've been performing since you were 15, and that you've opened up for various acts. Can you just tell us a little bit about those days and who you opened up for?
Yeah, when I was 15, I was in this band. We were extremely young and didn't really know what was going on, but we played with Melt Banana, Pink and Brown, Sightings, The Rapture on their first tour. This was in 2000. So I've been performing for a long time. I was playing drums in that band, and then I basically started producing right after that. Like, I started working with computers.
Seeing as those are probably some formative years, did any of those groups have an influence on you, or did you guys have sort of an exchange of ideas back in those days, or were you just sort of set on your own way of thinking?
Yeah, I was definitely influenced by, I got more and more into electronic music, and when that happened, that was a big influence, using tools, picking up tools that a lot of other electronic musicians have used, made me more interested in electronic music, or music that was kind of indicative of those tools.
Sort of in relation to your latest album, Smoke, it's my understanding that it was mostly recorded on a laptop and while you were touring.
Yeah, Smoke was mostly made, it was made almost completely on my computer by myself. Yeah, just, it was never really on the road, but nothing was ever created actually that mobile. But I did move around a lot. Basically, the record was recorded in 4 different cities, and I've never lived anywhere longer than 3 months for 4 years or something. So, Cincinnati, Cleveland, New York, and San Francisco. So it was recorded, with all my own stuff. Just wherever I was living, whatever I had around at the time.
Some folks have said that your vocals can be compared to those of Beck's. Is he somebody you look up to, or is it just sort of happenstance that you guys have a similar voice?
Yeah, the first time, that was a really big surprise. There's a lot of other artists that get brought up that I think are way more appropriate in terms of what kind of music I listen to. Beck is, his music's awesome, and for someone as popular as he is, I think he can get away with a lot, which is really unusual for a lot of pop artists. I really like his record, Sea Change, yeah, that record's awesome. It's recorded really well, produced really well.
So the cover of your new album has also received some hype, and people have talked about the infamous character of Sophia Lamar. What is it that really inspired you to have her become part of the cover aesthetic? Is there any sort of meaning that you're trying to convey with that cover?
Having Sophia on the album was a result of my relationship with Andrew Strasser, who's the artist who does all of our art. He does all of our stage visuals and all of our art. And they were friends, and we had talked about using a few different models. We knew that we wanted the art to be photography based, and as opposed to graphics or something like that. Yeah, and then we had a handful of people that we were considering to use on the cover, and some of the people bailed last minute, and Sophia was someone that showed up, and it was actually the cover was supposed to have Sophia on one side, and then this old supermodel who's now she's not super active anymore, but she was a model back in the day, and she kind of bailed at the last second, so we had to think of something. So Andrew thought, okay, I'll just use Sophia all over the record, and she'll just be the kind of the identity for the record. But she's awesome. She's very beautiful, and her face is so striking that I think it worked really well for us to have her on the cover.
Is there anything you want to say maybe relating to what might be the inspiration for your name, White Williams, and really the origins of that?
Yeah. The name White Williams really comes from, I had to pick, well, I started, accumulating songs. I didn't have a name, so because I made the music myself, I was thinking, well, I'll just use the name Joe Williams or something.
Mm-hmm.
There's already a singer with like a large group of work. I think he's a jazz musician or a blues musician or something named Joe Williams. So that idea kind of quickly had to, it left. So I tried to find a name that I thought didn't sound like a single person or a band, because the music is kind of the same way. It's fabricated similarly, that there's, the authorship is kind of obscured. So I wanted to try and find a name that sounded neither, it didn't sound like a group or a person, and I like the alliteration. I went to college for graphic design, and it was pretty much a full-time commitment, like from the beginning. It was, I went to class for about almost 40 hours a week, like actual class attended time, and then you'd bring a bunch of work home. So Smoke, and a lot of other songs that didn't make it on the record, was always made in parallel, like my music was always made in parallel to college. Or I would be, if I wasn't in school in the winters and the summers, I was interning. I had paid internships at different design firms. So there was never a time when I could only devote myself to working on tracks. It was always like at night after doing a bunch of schoolwork, or I always had something where to be the next morning or something like that. So I mean, I know that it probably influenced my appreciation for school. I was always like a little irritated that I couldn't work more on my music, but it actually gave me a great work ethic with music, because I can work very fast. Like there's certain songs on the record that were made in like 24 hours, so I like that. I mean, I remember reading something about Eminem and Dr. Dre getting in the studio or something from when they first got together, and they made, when he was just becoming discovered as a rapper, and they made like 6 songs in 2 days or something, and I was just like, that's insane. So I kind of admired that, and I'm nowhere near that kind of output, efficiency, but it's nice. It's nice to work fast, and I think it taught me a lot about how to work with small amounts of time and what you can get done. And
do you have any sort of predictions for what you might be doing in the future? Any sort of plans at this point?
My plans for the future for 2008 are touring first and foremost. We're touring, we're finishing this tour, and then we're going to South by Southwest, and then we're going to Europe for a month, and then we're going to Europe again for 2 weeks, and then we may go to Brazil for at least a week in June. So until the summer, pretty much committed to touring, and then I'll probably begin the next record over the summer. But I've also I've just started producing for this guy Craig Dempsey, who is a part of the group Stars as Eyes. They've had a few records out. So yeah, I'm recording and helping. I'm like co-producing some music with him. Shout outs will go to Telepathy, Ecstatic Sunshine, Health, Stars as Eyes, Hearts of Darknesses, Andrew Strasser, Medicine Man. Yeah. Cheers.